there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm starting a reading vlog. I am reading some new releases this upcoming week and I figured I would vlog my experience reading them in case you were kind of interested in these new releases as well. Some of them have already come out and some of them are coming out this upcoming week. I'm either going to read like 4 or 5 books. I haven't decided yet. I'll quickly list off the ones I'm thinking about reading before I talk about the one that I've already started. The first one is Make You Miss Me by B. Celeste, and this one is a single father military romance. I believe it's also a forbidden romance. I think maybe the heroine is the teacher of the hero's child, but I'm not 100% on that. It sounds really good, so I'm definitely wanting to read this one, and this one already came out on September 2nd. Then I have Relentless by Adriana Locke. This one came out on the 3rd. This is the 4th book in the Mason family series, and it is a friends with benefit romance, and I think it's also an office romance. And then I actually got the audiobook of the next book, and if you know me, I'm not huge on audiobooks, but I sometimes like to listen to them when I'm doing chores and things like that. And I'm also getting the ebook from the library, so I might read a little bit of both. And that is A Spot of Trouble by Terry Wilson. This one already came out on the 7th. It's an opposites attract grumpy sunshine romance. The hero is a firefighter and the heroine is a yoga instructor. And I've heard that this one is kissing only, so it is a closed door romance. Then one that I'm really excited for is Kiss and Don't Tell by Megan Quinn. This one comes out on the 21st, so I'm going to read it in a couple of days. And I don't know much about it other than it is a hockey sports romance, and all of her books are usually rom-coms. I'm not huge on this cover, but I am excited to read this book, and I've heard good things about it so far. And the one that I'm actually reading right now is Rumors and Romance by Julia Jarrett. This one comes out on the 23rd. I do have an arc of it, so I'm trying to get my arc read prior to its release date. It's currently Sunday, and like I said, I'm reading Rumors and Romance. I'm currently over 60% into it. It is a pretty quick read, and I am really enjoying it. It is a small town romance that is set in Canada. It's actually set on Vancouver Island, which is on the west coast, and it is set in this fictional town called Dogwood Cove, and it is the 2nd book in the Dogwood Cove series. It is following our 2 main characters named Jackson and Mila, and Mila owns a bakery. Mila is very career focused with this bakery. She wants to expand it. She spends all of her free time thinking up new recipes and in the bakery. She doesn't want to have children, and she has a hard time finding people to date who don't have the same aspirations as her, and she doesn't really have time to date anyways because of her job. She ends up finding this dog that is injured on the side of the road, and she takes it to the vet. And the brand new vet in town is named Jackson. He has recently broken up with his fiance because she lied to him. She said that she didn't want children just like him, but then right before the wedding she said she was lying. So he felt pretty betrayed. He decided to start over, and he got a job at a vet office in Dogwood Cove. And when he first got into town, he kept coming into Mila's bakery, and that's how they first met. Then they met again at the vet's office when Mila brought the dog in, and the 2 of them strike a friendship, but they end up deciding to fake date for a couple of reasons. One being that Mila's family has always been on her back and they want her to date someone and kind of settle down. So she figured a boyfriend would kind of get them off her back, even if it is a fake boyfriend. And the owner of the vet really wants to make Jackson partner, but he wants Jackson to be like a family man. He's very traditional. And so Jackson feels he won't get the job unless he has a girlfriend or a family, and since he doesn't really want to have a family, he figures a fake girlfriend would help him further his career. So it's mutually beneficial, but of course things get really complicated between them. And so far I'm really enjoying this. I enjoyed book 1 in the series, but I am enjoying this one a lot more. I'm not sure if it's the tropes in this one or what, but it is really good. It's so cute, and I love that both of the main characters aren't really interested in having kids. It is something very different from a lot of romances out there. So I like that this kind of changes it up. So when I end up finishing this one and starting A Spot of Trouble, which I'm reading next, I will come back and update you later. Okay, it's the next day. It is Monday, September 20th, and yesterday I finished Rumors and Romance by Julia Jarrett, and I ended up really enjoying this romance. It was low angst and just overall a really sweet read, and like I said in my last clip, I really liked that it kind of varied from the norm, and both of the main characters weren't interested in the same kind of family ideals that other characters usually are in romance. If you're looking for small town romance with lots of charm and a lot of side characters that have potential for their own books, I think you'd really enjoy this one, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then last night I ended up starting the audiobook for A Spot of Trouble by Terry Wilson, and now I'm over halfway into it. And our two main characters in this story kind of have a funny meet cute. Both of them have Dalmatians. The heroine in the story has been living in this small town her whole life. Her whole family, like her dad and I think her brother, work for the police force in this small town. She rescued a Dalmatian, and this Dalmatian is pretty unruly. And while she's on the beach, she sees a man that she's never seen before with her Dalmatian. She has the only Dalmatian in this town, so she is convinced that this dog is hers. But as it turns out, her dog had run off on the beach, and this guy is new in town. He is a fire marshal. He is the new fire marshal in town, and the dog with him is actually his working dog. It is a working Dalmatian, super trained, very different from the other Dalmatian, and they have this kind of awkward encounter. She immediately doesn't like him because he's a firefighter, and there's like some type of beef and some type of history with the two different departments. We do have this like softball tournament as well, and they're always competing every year, so there is this rivalry, and so she already doesn't like him. So it is a small town enemies to lovers romance. It's very cute, and it's full of a lot of nosy townspeople. A little bit different than Rumors and Romance in that regard. I feel like that one has more charm, and that one feels more realistic, whereas this one has more of like older people who are very nosy. And it is cute. It is just okay for me. I'm not sure if it's because I'm listening to it on audio and that's why I'm not fully connecting to it. Like, I can't even remember the main characters' names, but I do remember the names of the dogs. It is Cinder is the fire marshal's dog, and the heroine's dog name is Sprinkles, and those names are really cute and very fitting. But yeah, I can't even remember the main characters' names. For me, this is kind of a forgettable read, but I am enjoying it. I'm just not loving it. And then when I was downstairs earlier, I actually started another book on ebook because I couldn't listen to my audiobook, and it was one I forgot to mention yesterday. It actually comes out today, so I checked it out from Kindle Unlimited, and that is Sing You Home by Ava Hunter. And this is the first book in a series. I think this is the author's debut novel. And our two main characters in this story are Sal and Luke. They are a married couple, and 9 months ago, Sal was in a plane crash or a car accident, and she went missing. And ever since, Luke has spiraled kind of out of control because he could never find her, and she's presumed dead. Then all of a sudden, his brother finds Sal at a random diner, and she has no idea who she is. So she has amnesia, and she kind of was in a rough situation this whole time, kind of brainwashed. And I'm only a little bit over 10% in, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And the hero is a musician, but because of his wife's disappearance, he stopped playing and he developed kind of a drinking habit. So I'm actually really curious to see where the story goes. It's one of those romances that are pretty unrealistic, but I am enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the story takes us. So when I end up finishing A Spot of Trouble and making more progress in Sing You Home, I will come back and update you later. Okay, so it's about 5:30 p.m. now, and earlier today I ended up finishing the audiobook of A Spot of Trouble by Terry Wilson, and this was a really cute book. I don't have a lot of updated feelings about it because how I felt at the halfway point, I still feel about it after finishing it. It was a cute setup, and it was very low angst. It was a lot of drama in the town, very cute, but nothing that was going to leave a mark on me. I found some of the characters to be a little like too quirky, which made them unrealistic. And I wanted the relationship between the two main characters to be a little more developed by the end before they had declarations of I love you. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it 3 stars, but I am glad that I picked it up. I thought the cover was adorable. And then I also read more of Sing You Home by Ava Hunter. I'm now 25% into the book, and not a lot has changed since I was at like 10%. But our hero and heroine have been reunited after their 9 months of being apart. And basically the heroine is trying to get back her memory. She goes with the hero. They want to go to their home. And even though she doesn't remember him, she trusts him and she wants to remember. And she also wants the person who held her captive for 9 months to pay. And they're not really sure if justice is going to be served. So I'm curious if there's going to be like a suspense element to that, because it's pretty straightforward, like who did it. They quickly found who did it. But the question is whether or not he will be locked up for what he did. And so if he doesn't get locked up, will he be chasing after the heroine? Will something bad happen? Because clearly he's unhinged. And we're kind of seeing some setups for some of the other characters in the book. And I believe they're going to have their own romances in the series, since this is the first book in the series. So the hero has a brother, and he is really close to the heroine as well. And I'm hoping that he has his own book because I do like his character. I'm usually not huge on musician rock star romances, and this kind of is one. But I am still enjoying it, and I'm going to see if it takes kind of a turn toward more music stuff or if it's going to be more about the amnesia portion. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it, and for it being a debut novel, I think it is really good. So I will come back and update you guys tomorrow. Okay, it's the end of the day and my kids have just gone down for bed. And this morning I ended up finishing Sing You Home by Ava Hunter. And I enjoyed this romance, but I definitely didn't love it. It was a cute romance, but rather predictable. And the way that the third person was written was kind of distracting. Like, I don't mind third person if it's really obvious, like which POV we're looking through, but we jumped to side characters and sometimes the main characters weren't even in the scene, which was a little bit distracting for me. I also found the suspense element very predictable, which I usually do when there is suspense in romance. Not a lot of times does it surprise me. This one felt like it wasn't very complete. Like, there were some aspects of it that didn't really line up. But overall, I think it was a pretty solid debut. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars. And then I ended up starting Kiss and Don't Tell by Meghan Quinn. And this one I'm only a little bit over 10% into. It is a rather long book. I think it's like 450 pages, so it is kind of long for Meghan Quinn. Our 2 main characters are Winnie, and I believe the hero's name is Pacey. And Pacey is a part of this hockey team, and they like to vacation in Canada after the season to kind of unwind. But there's some really bad rainstorm and they kind of get stuck there, and their chef doesn't arrive. They don't really have a lot of food, and then all of a sudden someone knocks on their door, and it is Winnie who got stranded there. Her car kind of got stuck in the mud, so she ends up staying overnight at their cabin. And she is that way because she spontaneously wanted to go on some trip. So I'm curious why she's going on this trip all by herself, other than to be spontaneous and kind of get out there. I believe she came all the way up from Seattle, so I think they're over by Vancouver. So I'm not sure how long she's going to be stuck in this cabin with them, but I think it's going to start out as a forced proximity romance. And so far I'm enjoying it, but like I said, I'm not very far into it. I also realized another book just came out today that I wanted to read, and that is Last Round by Charity Farrell. And this is the 5th and final book in the Twisted Fox series. So I also plan on reading that. I might read that during this reading vlog. So when I make more progress on the book I'm currently reading, I will come back and update you guys tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day and I'm about 75% into Kiss and Don't Tell by Meghan Quinn. And this is a rather long book. I think it's about 450 pages. So it's taking me a little bit longer to get through, but I am really enjoying it. Like I said, our 2 main characters are Winnie and Pacey, and they end up having a forced proximity romance when a rainstorm hits in a small resort town called Banff. I think that's how you say it, but I'm not 100% sure. It's outside of Vancouver, Canada, and Pacey is the goalie for the Vancouver Agitators. Like I said, I'm really enjoying this one. It was a rather slow burn romance. They didn't actually consummate their relationship till well after the 60% mark, and considering it's 450 pages, that's quite a bit into it. There is an interesting twist to the story. Winnie is the ex-girlfriend of Pacey's half-brother, and he learned that while she was staying at the cabin with him. It's not a spoiler because that was talked about in the first prologue chapter, and I assume the conflict is going to be that he kept it from her, and then she finds out that Pacey is the half-brother of her really terrible ex. If you like Meghan Quinn's baseball romances, I think you would really enjoy this one because it's very similar in the way that it's written. It has an element of humor to it, but it's also really cute, and you get all the side characters like the other athletes, and Meghan is setting up their romances as well. So based on all of the other characters, I think there should be at least 4 or 5 books in the series. I would also love to see the chef that they hire. I'd love to see his romance as well, but I could imagine that she probably won't write that because he isn't like an athlete or anything, but I really think it would be fun to read his romance. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to update right now. So when I end up finishing this one and starting my next book, I'm not sure which one I'm going to read next. I will come back and update you later. Okay, it's the next day, and yesterday I finished Kiss and Don't Tell by Meghan Quinn. And I ended up really loving this book. It was so cute, it was lighthearted, but it did tackle some deeper topics. And if you like Meghan Quinn's other books, I think you will love this one just as much, especially if you love her baseball romance series, because I felt like the writing in this mirrored the writing in that a lot. You also get a little bit of name dropping of a couple of the characters from that series. So if you're looking for a good slow burn sports romance, I would highly recommend this one, and I'm going to rate it 4.5 stars. Now I'm reading Make You Miss Me by B. Celeste, and this is my first book by this author, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I'm already 60-something% into it because I think it's about 275 pages. And our 2 main characters are Stevie and Fletcher. Stevie is really struggling in her life. She is 32, and a couple of years ago she got divorced. She got married really young at like 19, and her husband were together for like 10 years before they got divorced. And he was in the military, I believe he was Army. and she's trying to find herself again. She's become a teacher, she moved to a new town and bought a house, and across the street is someone she actually kind of knows. His name is Fletcher. He is 10 years older than her, and he was her ex-husband's superior. So it kind of puts her in an awkward spot, and Fletcher has a 10-year-old son who is on the spectrum, and he was placed in Stevie's 5th grade class because she did focus in college on helping out special needs kids, and so she may know a little bit more about the spectrum than other teachers. And this is a very slow burn romance. It is only through Stevie's POV, but even with it just being her POV, I love Fletcher so much. He is such a quiet, brooding type, and he knows what he wants. He doesn't push himself on Stevie, and he is very respectful, and he's also a great father. And I do like the age gap in here. He's like 42, she is 32, so there's a 10-year difference, and you can definitely tell he's settled in his life. He's very mature. He is retired from the army now, and I believe that he like fixes up cars for a living. And if you're looking for good examples of co-parenting that is healthy and not where one of the parents is terrible and one is great, I think this is a really good example because Fletcher gets along really well with his ex-wife and they co-parent their son really well. So it's a forbidden romance, it's a military romance, it's a single dad romance, a neighbors to lovers. It just has so many tropes that I really enjoy. If you're looking for something hot and heavy, this one definitely isn't for you. I'm at like the 65% mark and they haven't even kissed yet. So if you want ultra slow burn or a quieter romance, I think you'd really enjoy this one. But yeah, when I end up finishing this and picking up my next read, I will come back and update you later. Okay, it's the next day, and yesterday I finished Make You Miss Me by B. Celeste, and I ended up really enjoying this romance. It was a quiet, very slow burn romance, but there was just something about it that felt so organic and real, and that's what made me really fall in love with it. Fletcher was such a great, patient hero, and he was so tender, and I loved that about him. And I liked seeing Stevie's journey of self-discovery. The only thing I wish that had been different is we only saw Stevie's POV, and I really wanted to see Fletcher's POV. If you guys have been around, you guys know I love dual POV. That's kind of where the book fell a little bit short for me. But I ended up still really enjoying it, so I gave it 4 stars. And then I ended up picking up my last book for this video, and that is Last Round by Charity Farrell, and this is the 5th and final book in the Twisted Fox series. And this focuses on a couple that has been featured in all of the other books. They were 2 side characters, and this is their romance. And those characters are Lola and Silas. And they end up meeting in a bar. Silas was the bartender and Lola was there with her friends. And one of Lola's friends happens to be the bar owner's little sister. So anyway, he overhears her talking to her girlfriends. He offers her his phone number and she gives him a phone number. But when he goes to call her, some guy picks up and it's not Lola. So she played a trick on him. And he ends up seeing her again at a barbecue with his boss. And Lola is there because, like I said, she's friends with the boss's sister. And so Silas and Lola end up having this friendship, and we fast forward 2 years later. They are best friends. They have very similar snarky, sarcastic attitudes. Lola is really into her job. She works in the sales department of her parents' alcohol distribution company, and Silas is still a bartender. I think he's also an events coordinator for the bar too. He never wants to really date anyone, but obviously there's been feelings lurking between them, and now we're seeing them start to come to a head. And I am 50% into this book and I am enjoying it. I'm seeing a lot of scenes pop up that were in previous books because the timelines of all the books is kind of spread out, so there is a lot of overlap. So there's some scenes that were about Lola and Silas in previous books, but we didn't really know the background information. And now we're seeing those scenes play out again, but we're seeing the context, so it starts to make a lot more sense. If you've read Charity Farrell before, you know her books can be rather dramatic, and this is no exception in that department. But I am enjoying it, so when I end up finishing it, I will come back and update you, and then I will go over all of the books that I read for this video. Okay, it's the next day and I am back for my final update for this vlog. Yesterday I finished Last Round by Charity Farrell, and all of the books in the series I either gave 3.5 or 4 stars. So I enjoyed the whole series, and this particular book I'm going to give 3.5 stars. Like I said, it was dramatic, it was good and easy to read, but nothing in it particularly stood out to me. And I kind of feel like that about the whole series, like it was really enjoyable, but none of them left super lasting impressions. but I did still rate it 3.5 stars, so I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. So now I'm going to go over the 6 books that I read and all of my ratings. So I first read Rumors and Romance by Julia Jarrett. I gave this one 4 stars. Then I read A Spot of Trouble by Terry Wilson. I gave this 3 stars. Then I read Sing You Home by Ava Hunter. I also gave this 3 stars. Then I read Kiss and Don't Tell by Megan Quinn. I gave this 4.5 stars. Then I read Make You Miss Me by B. Celeste. I gave this 4 stars. And then lastly, I read Last Round by Charity Farrell, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I had quite a wide variety of ratings for this reading vlog, all the way from 3 stars to 4.5. The definite standout was Kiss and Don't Tell by Megan Quinn. I loved that hockey romance. But great runners-up were Make You Miss Me and Rumors and Romance. Those ones were also really good. So out of those 6 books, I would recommend those 3 new releases the most. I'd love to hear if you've read any of the books that I've talked about here and if you enjoyed them. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye!